Good morning and welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire and I'm coming to you today from my studio in Orlando, Florida. The birds are singing, the sun is out, and it's getting hot here already. It's basically summer. Today I want to talk to you about a technique that gets the most excited reaction when I teach in person, and that is the alcohol resist technique. As you know, I hand paint all my own collage papers, and I do that to prevent fading. Initially I did that to prevent fading because the papers that I was purchasing at art supply stores were fading. When I decided to hand paint my own collage paper, what I didn't realize was that the papers that I would make would be far superior and far more beautiful to anything that I ever was able to purchase. So over the last 10 years, I have been perfecting, experimenting with, and creating new techniques for painting hand-painted collage paper. And when I teach in person, I get reactions from students and I know which techniques they really get excited about. And so the one I'm going to teach you today is really the one that it takes the most practice, but once you get it down, it is one of the ones that gets the biggest ooh ah reaction. It is a great technique. It is rubbing alcohol resist. I am going to show you how to do it. You're going to have to practice with it, but once you get it, it's going to be one of your favorite techniques. So welcome to my garage studio space. It's awesome out here because I have a great big table and I have a lot of natural light, but I live in Florida, so it's only awesome for a little while. When it gets to be August, it's not quite so awesome out here. But today it's lovely. The birds are singing and the trash man has already passed by, so hopefully we won't have any peripheral noise, but even if we do, the information is what matters. So today we're going to talk about the rubbing alcohol resist technique. So what I have is my collapsible water bucket. I use this, I travel with it because it goes down and can go into my suitcase, and then I also use it in the studio. It accordion folds. So I love this product. I've got about an 1.5 inch soft bristle brush with my water. I've got my golden fluid acrylic. So I've got turquoise phthalo. I've got quin magenta. I've got permanent violet dark, pyrrole red, and phthalo blue green shade. I've also got drugstore first aid aisle rubbing alcohol. This is 90%, 70% will also work, and it's in a glass eyedropper container that I use to drop it onto the paper. And these are on my Amazon art resources page. These are great. I love the dropper and the glass bottle. So I've got rubbing alcohol in there, and I've got some paper here that I created with my gel press. So I used my gel press printing plate to just do solid colors for this demo, and these are light colors. So you can see I've got sort of a light yellow green, a pink. Slide this up. I've got some yellow orange here and some teal over here. So I'm going to use this as my sheet. On the other end, this is just an old architectural floor plan. Here I've got some nice light yellow and some light orange. So this is not absorbent paper. It's not rice paper. It's just basic white paper. You want to do this technique on something that is not going to soak all the paint right in. So you don't want to use rice paper, but you can use book pages, sheet music, found papers. You need to experiment with the kind of paper. If you don't get the results that I get, then you want to change 3 things. Change the paper, change the color of paint you're using, color paint or paint combo, color combo, change the amount of water. So either add more water or less water, switch out your paper, or change your color combo, okay? So these are light colors and they are dry. The bottom layer is light colored and it is dry. I'm going to mix up some paint on a paper plate. I'm going to add the water just from the brush. So let's start with the Let's start with this phthalo blue, and we'll put it over this green area. So we'll slide down to the green-blue area. So I'm going to put out, I'm using the fluid acrylics. That's important. I'm going to put out a little bit of the phthalo blue. I'm going to take my accordion water bucket. I'm going to add a little bit of water with my brush. It's not an exact technique science, so you're going to have to experiment with it. But see, I've added some water to the fluid acrylic. It's a little watery, and I've chosen a color that is darker than what is on the bottom. So this is light colored and it is dry. This is wet and watery, and I am going to brush it over the top, working quickly because it's warm out here. There, I've given myself a wet and watery, and while it's wet, I have to work quickly. While it's wet, I'm going to take my eyedropper, my glass eyedropper with my 90% alcohol, and I'm going to drop it into the paint and get these great little amoeba-like resistant circles. Isn't this fun? And isn't that cool? That's definitely an ooh-ah reaction. So a couple of different things happen at this point. Either these stay crisp droplets, and that's awesome, or if you have too much water, the water pushes out with the alcohol, but then because there's so much of it, it flows back in and obliterates your circles. If that happens, you need to try it again with less water. If your alcohol does not move the paint at all, that means the paint is too tacky, there's not enough water, so you need to try it again with a little bit more water. And then if you don't see the contrast well enough, that means you need to go lighter color on the bottom and even darker on the top. So that's an example of changing the color. So that's looking really cool, and I really like how that looks. And so I could call it quits here, but let's get another paper plate and another color, and let's go over this pink, because I like the pink, and I think it could be cool with some Quin magenta over it. So let's go over some of the yellow and some of the pink. That's what's nice about this sheet that has multis on it. So whoops, my plate just kind of lifted that up. I'm going to brush this over the top of two colors, wet and watery. While it's wet, I'm going to then take my alcohol and I'm going to once again drop it into the wet paint on top. And then what shows through is what's underneath. So you could get very creative with what you put underneath rather than just one solid color. You could have stamping and texture plate rubbing and splattering. And so the more interesting your lower layer is, that's what shows through. So here we've got two colors showing through. And wow, I really like that. And this I lost my centers a little bit because I put my paper plate on it. But that's looking really good. So that is the alcohol resist technique. Paper painting should always be fun. And if you want more techniques for painting paper, I have an online evergreen. It is open for enrollment and you can start at any time. Monoprinting for collage paper.